Alright, so here we are with a tier list, and it's not your average tier list because I'm definitely doing something that most people wouldn't do because it's kind of common sense. But in today's video, we will be doing an episode tier list. And not just for a few episodes, not just for some episodes, for every episode of the original Naruto series. Yeah, this is definitely a tier list I'm gonna regret doing, but I'll do it for content. I think it's gonna be good content, hopefully, because you know how normal people do like anime tier list, waifu tier list, character tier list. I mean, I did a character tier list, but I kind of went full on crackhead mode for that. But anyways, originally I was gonna do Boruto for this tier list, but I decided against that because I mean it's still airing and I'll let it simmer a little longer so I have more episodes to go over. And I suppose what I'll be doing is going in order, so starting with the original Naruto, which is this video, and then next video, if this video does well, which I'm not really gonna set a like goal, but if you want me to continue this quote-unquote series, which I think I can do this for other anime as well, but if you want me to go over every single episode of Shippuden next and want to see me actually suffer, because that's 500 fucking episodes you're talking about, then what you can do is simply drop a like. And if I see a lot of likes, I'm not really gonna set a like goal, but if I see a lot of likes on this video, more than likely I'll actually move on to Shippuden and do the motherfucking tier list for it, okay? And then after Shippuden, I'll go on to Boruto. So we're gonna take it a step at a time. And pardon the scuffness of this video because I actually didn't know what to use for images, so I decided to just open Photoshop and just number some cards for this video. And honestly, I think they turned out alright. Originally, my cards looked like this. I definitely brushed it up with some nice Naruto storm clouds. It's all good and dandy, and goddamn, this is so fucking scuffed. Alright, so anyways, I think that's enough for the intro, and I suppose we shall get into this tier list. But of course, before we get into that, let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is an open-world anime-styled action RPG that is available for PC, Android, iOS, PS4, and PS5. And it has recently released its newest version 2.3 update, which gives travelers new missions and challenges to complete. Version 2.3 also marks the return of two beloved characters, Albedo and Eula, and they both will be available to wish for within the first phase, which is between November 24th and December 15th. And if that's not crazy enough, for the second phase, we have two brand new characters coming to Genshin, Arutaki and Goro, which they will be available to wish for from December 15th through January 5th. New hangout events are also out for the Series 4, and both Goro and Beto hangout events are now out and available to all players. On top of that, we now have the Shadows of Mist Snowstorms event, and by participating in this event, players can exchange the event currency into Primogems, Crown of Insight, etc. Players can also obtain components to build the snowman and dragon spine, and you also have the ability to exchange components with your friends. And by building the snowman, you can get a free sword, which is the 4-star Cinnabar Spindle. A new Bantan Sango case files is also out, which you are given the objective to find and bring back the animals that have mysteriously disappeared across Inazuma. And to top off the new events, we have two interesting events, the Energy Amplifier Fruition and the Misty Dungeon Realm of Light, which both gives back to the players. As for bosses, the new monster Golden Wolf Lord is now available on Tsurumi Island, Inazuma. And by defeating this boss, you will be rewarded Ascension materials for Arutaki Ito. And if you think that's a lot, well, let me tell you that there's more! And there are various new weapons and artifacts added to the game. So what are you waiting for? Download Genshin Impact right now to your devices by using my link in the description and by using my code on screen. You can receive some free bonuses. Thank you, Genshin Impact, for sponsoring today's video. And now, let's get back into this Naruto episode tier list. Starting off with episode 1. A nice introduction to the series. Got the introduction to the Nine Tails. We got Naruto eating ramen. He fights Mizuki, like first ever villain. I mean, the villain was kind of weak, but it's all good. It was a nice little training dummy for Naruto. And Naruto graduates the academy. I say this was a very solid episode, B tier. Nothing too crazy happened, but it was a good foundation for the whole series. Episode 2 introduces Konohamaru as his rival. Nothing really to say for that episode. C tier. Episode 3 is a bit of a big one because Naruto and Sasuke managed to kiss in this one, so you know what, that definitely brings it up a bar. And on top of that, this episode had a little bit more spice added onto it because not only is it a very important episode where all the teams get signed, organized, we get a nice little segment where Naruto transforms into Sasuke and tries to get a nice little smooch from Sakura, right? And then like you got the poopies. I think this episode was very iconic, actually. Definitely A tier. Next episode, Kakashi gets pranked, and this is the episode where the teams introduce themselves, you know, with Sasuke's edgy backstory, and they do a nice little bell test, which is definitely a very important episode, but it didn't really have too much of a flair to it. It was good though. It was good. B tier. Episode 5 teaches you the importance of friendship. B tier. So up next we got episode 6, a very epic episode because they escort the bridge builder and fight some random enemy, some random villain that I forgot the name of. And somewhere in the episode, Naruto stabbed himself, showing that he's like a true shinobi. I don't see the point in doing that, but and I suppose this episode is very C tier like. Up next we got episode 7. They're still escorting the bridge builder, and Zabuza appears, and they got a nice little fight with Kakashi and Zabuza, which wasn't really too crazy. crazy, so C tier. And in the next episode, Kakashi gets put into a water prison jutsu, which brings our two main characters into action, and Naruto and Sasuke 2v1 Zabuza, which really showed us the power of friendship or teamwork. Yeah, it was a pretty cool episode. Definitely up there, but not anything insane, so B tier. The next episode is where Kakashi gets out of the water prison jutsu because Naruto and Sasuke got him out, and Kakashi uses his Sharingan, you know, being the copycat ninja. He copies Zabuza, which was a very epic episode. Then Zabuza gets sniped out of nowhere and teleported out by Haku, which we don't know it's Haku yet, but I think we all should know the series enough that it's Haku. So, B tier. Next episode is where they go to the bridge builder's house, or whoever's house this is, I actually don't know. And Team 7 trains chakra control. Very cool. C tier. Episode 11, some old dude grabs PTS Sakura's ass. L tier. That's just weird. Episode 12, we get to see Haku with her hair down. I mean, his hair down. Yeah, definitely A tier. It even got me in my words too. In episode 13, Naruto takes out some thugs, and then we have a fight on the bridge. Yeah, I'll put this in B tier. Episode 14, we have the debut of the iconic swing set. I think this is the first time it ever showed. That's an easy A tier, because we all know the OST, the original soundtrack, Sadness and Sorrow, and this is what we link our brains to. Episode 15 is a continuation to the fights on the bridge, and Sakura is being very useful by defending the bridge builder, so B tier. Episode 16, we got a very homosexual moment between Naruto and Sasuke, and I think this is the first time we get to see Naruto in his Kyuubi form where he gets angry, so that's like a B plus tier. In the next episode, we got a backstory for Haku. As much as he is like the iconic trap from Naruto, I don't think anyone really cared for him, but I don't know if that's just me. But something notable in this episode is that Kakashi uses his summoning jutsu and summons a nice little puppies, and I believe this is the first appearance of like the Chidori or Lightning Blade, I think, because as I'm going through these episodes, I just skimmed, okay? C tier. And in this next episode, Kakashi Lightning Blades through Zabuza's human shield, and the fight continues between Zabuza and Kakashi, so B tier. I think, you know, that was a noble sacrifice, Haku. Now, episode 19 is an episode that many should remember, because this is the episode where Zabuza goes crazy, takes out Gato Hitman, and then takes out Gato just by using a kunai in his mouth. And not only that, I think this was a very nice moment for Naruto as a character to get some development and be like, yo, let me cry real quick. And then we got this very emotional scene with like Haku and Zabuza. They were short-lived villains, but you know what? They were there, okay? A tier. All right, so on episode 20, Team 7 does random missions, and we get introduced to the hidden sand ninjas. Nothing special happened here. C tier. And then episode 21 is entering the tuning exams. C tier. Episode 22 is when the two main characters get washed. You know, Naruto gets washed, Sasuke gets washed. It's just an embarrassing sight to see. B tier. Episode 23 is where everyone meets up for the tuning exams, and this random old dude Kabuto's here. Why is he here? C tier. Episode 24 is where they learn how to cheat using their abilities or jutsus and stuff. Honestly, it's like a C plus tier, but because this episode is a little bit memorable, we can head it a B. And then episode 25, Kurenai gets some screen time, which is great. And now we're moving on to the next phase of the tuning exam. We could just throw this in C. Episode 26, we get a new opening, which is absolutely fantastic, but this is a whole fucking filler episode. L. Episode 27 is the start of the new phase of the tuning exam. C tier. Episode 28 is our first encounter with Orochimaru, but like nothing really happens. C tier. Episode 29, the fight thickens, and we get a fight with Orochimaru, and Naruto gets sealed, which is a big point in the story, so you know what? B tier. And episode 30 is a phenomenal episode where Orochimaru and Sasuke fight, and the animation, the Sakuga is there, like, damn, that fight is beautiful. A tier. And also in episode 30, Sasuke gets his curse mark, which is a big point in the story as well. And let me also add that Anko gets some screen time towards the end, which, I mean, no one really cares about. So on to episode 31, this is when everyone on Team 7 is out of commission, and Sakura's the only one living, or alive, or conscious. And it seems like the Sound Ninja take advantage of this and go for the ambush. And with this episode, this is where we get a rare appearance, a rare moment where Rock Lee gets some screen time. And of course, with it being a Rock Lee episode where he gets some screen time, we gotta give it a B. But in the next episode, episode 32, Rock Lee dies, and this leads Sakura to take on the Sound Ninja. And I believe this episode is very iconic because she cuts her hair. She actually fucking cuts her hair. And in this episode, Sakura really proves that she's the most useful shinobi in the shinobi world. And she takes on the Sound Ninja solo, and she really knows how to use her teeth in battle. So you know what? S tier. Now in episode 33, this is a very iconic episode because this is when Sasuke wakes up with a curse mark, and he's just so sinister looking. Like, this man is looking very epic. So not only does he take on the Sound Ninja, on top of that, he even decides to go as far as breaking one of their or both of his arms. I don't know. He broke some dude's arms. And honestly, if you don't remember that episode, then I guess you watched Naruto incorrectly. So S tier. Episode 34 just shows that Gaara is dangerous. C tier. Episode 35 shows that we have the Heaven Scroll, and then Kabuto joins our team. And also towards the end of the episode, we get to fight a guy with a mask, a random ninja. Yeah, that's definitely a C tier. Episode 36, we finish off the masked dude. The fight wasn't really too crazy. It wasn't even that good. But see, the D tier I'm reserving for like episodes that are overall bad. You know, the fight wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. And then in the episode, we actually finished the tuning exam, or the specific round of this tuning exam. exams. So we could place this episode into C tier. Episode 37 prepares us for the next round of the tuning exams, which was a very informative episode. C tier. Episode 38, Sasuke fights some random dude, and I mean, yeah, it wasn't really crazy in this episode. C tier. Episode 39 actually debuts Sasuke using the Lion's Barrage, which is a very iconic move that he only uses like once or maybe even twice in the entire series. So you know what, B tier for that. Episode 40, Shino fights a sound ninja. Very cool. C tier. Episode 41, Kankuro fights some random dude that wants to be Luffy so bad, and he gets absolutely pooped on. C tier. Episode 42, we got Sakura versus Ino, and you guys already know, man. The fight was just insane. It was intense. It was iconic. It was a whole meme. S tier. Episode 43, we actually got two fights in this one. Like, it's a two-pack chicken McNugget, whatever that means. We got Tenten versus Temari, where Temari kills Tenten, and then we got Shikamaru outplaying a sound ninja. You know what? We could put that up in A tier. Episode 44, we got Kiba versus Naruto Part 1. B tier. Episode 45, we got Kiba versus Naruto Part 2, and Naruto shits in his face. We could put that in B tier. Episode 46, we got the Hyuga versus the Hyuga, and this episode wasn't really too crazy in particular, so you know what? B tier. Episode 47, however, I think it really stepped up its game. It got increased Sakuga usage, so that's pretty great, and they even had to get Neji to jump in before he actually like killed Hinata. On top of that, Naruto picks up some HIV. I don't know what's wrong with this dude, but A tier. Next fight, very iconic fight, Rock Lee versus Gaara, the fight that has been in everyone's YouTube recommended since the age of 12, and it's that type of fight that is just rewatchable and it's just overall enjoyable. Yeah, that's a fat ass. Episode 49 is where Rock Lee opens the gates, but this whole episode is pretty much just a flashback for Rock Lee. I'm not totally against flashbacks. Maybe I might be more against flashbacks in Naruto compared to any other show because they like to spam flashbacks and they do in every fight. So overall, you know what? This flashback episode, B tier. And then we got episode 50 where Rock Lee goes crazy in his 8 gates. Not really 8 gates, but you know what I mean. And towards the end, he takes a bit of an L. It's quite sad, you know, a life-threatening injury, or maybe not life-threatening, but he definitely is out of commission for the rest of the series until the final arc. And for that phenomenal performance, we gotta give this episode an A. And then episode 51, we got Choji versus the Sound Ninja, probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Also, we have Kakashi versus Kabuto in that episode, which wasn't a great fight as well. Definitely gonna have to hand a D tier to this episode. Episode 52, Naruto's learning chakra control, which is a very important skill. And in this episode, Naruto meets Jiraiya for the first time. C tier. Episode 53, we got the debut of the sexy jutsu. You know what? B tier for that. Episode 54, Gaara kills some random sound ninja. I forgot his name. And one random hidden leaf ninja gets killed as well. Both of these deaths were very unimpactful, but you know what? F in the chat for them. And then we got more Naruto training. So yeah, C tier. Then episode 55 is a nice intermission before the tuning exams. C tier. And then episode 56, we got a nice picture of Naruto's dad. And then this episode is more so a intermission period as well. But I believe this is the first ever episode where Naruto talks to Kurama and actually uses his chakra for the first time to summon a big fat toad. B tier. And then episode 57 is Naruto doing more training with the big fat toad. C tier. And then episode 58 is a nice little showcase of the intermission period once again, but it just shows that Gaara's a crackhead once more, so C tier. Episode 59 showcases Best Girl from Ichiraku. You know, the Ichiraku ramen girl, best girl, we all know. And then we have Hinata stalking Naruto. And then now we are at the start of the tuning exams, or the next stage of the tuning exams. C tier. Episode 60, we got Naruto versus Neji. I believe the fight is very iconic. B tier. Episode 61 is a continuation of Naruto versus Neji, but this episode has a lot more dialogue and backstory. Technically, I would put this like as a C+ tier, but I'll just bump it up to a B. Why not? And then episode 62 is the iconic episode where Naruto uppercuts Neji, which is kind of bullshit, but I guess Neji does have blind spots. B tier. Episode 63 is filled with dialogue. I mean, it's not completely pointless, not useless, so I guess C tier here. Episode 64, I'm not sure if it's because I'm biased with Shikamaru being like one of my favorite characters within the Naruto series, and also Temari is, I don't know why I like her character so much as well. I don't know, it's weird. But in their fight, they both have some very nice tactics. They're very tactical. I feel like I just repeated the same word twice, but overall they had some big brains in this fight. And also we have Choji eating chips, so that's definitely an A tier. Episode 65, we have Sasuke making a very epic intro into the stadium, just a little fashionably late. And then this episode also showcases that Gaara is crazy once more, so you know what, I'll put this in C tier. And then episode 66 is where we have the true fight between Sasuke and Gaara, and as a Sasuke fanboy, I'm definitely gonna put this fight up there because he used his Sharingan to copy Rock Lee's taijutsu, which, you know what, that's pretty epic. And overall this episode was quite banger. A tier. And then the next episode is Sasuke flexing the Chidori. I mean, I didn't really think this part of the fight was all that cool, so B tier. Then the next episode, episode 68, is where Orochimaru starts the attack on the hidden leaf. This episode, it was very impactful, so B tier. And then episode 69, funny number, is where Orochimaru fights the third Hokage. And with doing so, he summons the previous Hokage as supports. Kind of a pussy move if you ask me. B tier. And then episode 70, we have Asuma flexing his strength. B tier. We all love Asuma. Now we have episode 71, where the animation kind of gets gets a little crazy with this one, where the third Hokage takes on the previous Hokage and Orochimaru, and this episode even had Trap Orochimaru like A tier. So episode 72, Sasuke chases the Sand Ninjas, and Sasuke has a pretty cool fight with Temari. I gotta give that fight some credit, and since I'm a Sasuke fanboy and I also like Temari as a character, we definitely gotta put that up in A. And now we got episode 73, where Orochimaru is still fighting the third Hokage, and the third Hokage summons his monkey to fight alongside him, and in this episode taking a bit of Orochimaru's soul so he can't use jutsus. And not only does that happen, we got our boy Shino holding up Kankuro for Sasuke, because we all know Sasuke is chasing Gaara, so this episode, you know, it has some juice. B tier. Then episode 74 is Kankuro versus Shino. B tier. Then episode 75 is when Sasuke catches up to Gaara and Chidori his ass. Then Naruto comes in clutch out of nowhere and kicks Gaara in the mouth. B tier. Then episode 76 is the backstory of Gaara. B tier. Then episode 77 is the fight between Gaara and Naruto, so you know what? B tier. And in episode 78, Naruto tries the 1,000 Years of Death on Gaara, which, I mean, I don't think it really worked too well. And in this episode, Naruto summons his big toad, which honestly, I feel like this episode is a B+ tier, but, nah, it don't get the boost. Stay a B. And then episode 79, we got a legendary headbutt, and Hiruzen goes out with a bang, so I think this episode had a little bit more significance. A tier. Episode 80, Naruto gives his powerful speech to Gaara, which somehow changes him to a nice person, and then we got Hiruzen's funeral. B tier. Episode 81, Itachi and Kasame invade the Hidden Leaf, and is it just me, or does it look weird when Itachi does the thing where he leaves his hand hanging from his cloak? Like, now looking back at it, that shit kind of look weird to me. But anyways, overall, this fight with like Asuma versus Kasame and Kurenai versus Itachi, I mean, it was fairly decent, enjoyable to say the least. We could drag that in B. And then episode 82 is a continuation of 81, and in that episode, Kakashi gets stabbed endlessly, which, you know, overall the fight was a B tier. And then episode 83 is the backstory of Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, and along with that, Itachi finds Naruto's hotel room. So overall, C tier episode. Now episode 84 is the backstory of Itachi taking out the whole entire Uchiha clan, and I know this like flashback is repeated throughout the entirety of the series, but this is the first time we get to see it, I think. And towards the end of the episode, Sasuke tries to take out Itachi with the Chidori. I mean, you know what? This was a very solid episode. We could put that in B. Episode 85 is where Sasuke gets choked and makes a meme out of himself. Jiraiya comes in to save the day. A very action-packed episode. We could put that in B. Episode 86, Naruto goes on a nice little training arc with Jiraiya, and Jiraiya flexes the Chidori. I mean, the Rasengan. We could put this up into B. Episode 87 is more Rasengan training with Naruto, and because this episode contains the iconic popsicle scene, I'll bump it. It was gonna be a C tier episode, but you know what? That's a B tier in my book. And then episode 88 shows that Sasuke is out of commission from the curse mark from his fight with Gaara, and Naruto pops a balloon. C tier. Episode 89 is Shizune versus Kabuto, which is quite rare to see Shizune fight, so I think that alone deserves a nice little solid B tier. Episode 90 showcases the Hokage flicking the Hokage, and Naruto gets mad and tries to Rasengan her. I think this is a very much like a C+ tier episode, but you know what? I'll bump it up to B. Why not? Episode 91, Naruto gets absolutely destroyed even with using the Rasengan. And then we got a Tsunade flashback, which was pretty insightful. Why not put this into B? And then episode 92, Tsunade goes out for drinks with Jiraiya, and I believe she drugs Jiraiya and then goes to Orochimaru to heal his arm so he can like revive her brother and her sweetheart. I forgot. Okay, I skimmed through this episode. C tier. Episode 93, we got Kabuto versus Tsunade, where Kabuto touches her titties. B tier for boobies. Episode 94, we got a very iconic Rasengan where Naruto absolutely destroys Kabuto with the Rasengan. That's definitely like a B+ tier episode. I'll bump it up for like the nostalgia. Episode 95, Tsunade uses the creation rebirth technique, which pretty much gives her god mode, and the 3 legendary Sannin all summon their summoning things, which is a very epic scene. B tier. And then episode 96, we got more fighting and then Tsunade flashbacks, and then Orochimaru gets fisted, and then Orochimaru and Kabuto retreat. B tier. Episode 97, what the f is this filler, dude? Get this shit out of my face. Episode 98, Konohamaru feels some titties, and we got Rock Lee on crutches, a very C tier episode. Episode 99, Sakura brings flowers to Rock Lee, and that's actually about it. Like, what the fuck is that? D tier. And then now on the big 100, this is the episode where we get Rock Lee's backstory. I think we had enough backstory for today, so 100 C tier. And then episode 101 is the filler episode where Kakashi takes off his mask, and what kind of tomfoolery is this? D tier. And then 102 is a random random filler as well, D tier. And then 103 is a random filler as well, D tier. 104 is a random filler, D tier. And mind you, I'm actually a part of the 1% that actually kind of likes Naruto fillers. For part 1, for the most part, Shippuden was on a different level of bullshit. But with part 1 Naruto, I feel like with the filler arcs, it gave the side characters a lot more screen time, which was always great because all the characters aside from Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura literally got like 1 hour of screen time throughout the entirety of part 1. So, you know, the filler episodes really did justice with giving them some time to shine. But anyways, on to episode 105, where it's still filler. And since I'm a Sasuke fanboy, I'm not gonna do this one dirty and give it a C tier. And then 106 is even more pointless filler, D tier. So now back to the canon stuff. We got episode 107 where Sasuke is in the hospital bed, very depressed, very angry, and Sakura tries to hand over some apples to him, and this man absolutely slaps it out of her hands. Just for that L tier episode. Like, how are you gonna waste apples like that? But on top of that, this is the episode where Naruto and Sasuke fight on the rooftop, which is a very iconic fight. I mean, any Naruto versus Sasuke fight is iconic. A tier. Episode 108 is where Kakashi gives his speech to Sasuke to become a better man, which I don't think Sasuke actually took to heart. And this is the episode where Sasuke fights the Sound 4, B tier. Episode 109 is where Sasuke pulls his signature lines barrage, which, you know what? That brings up this episode a few points. And also in this episode, Naruto takes out Sakura for some Ichiraku ramen. And then later on this episode, Sasuke's like, I need some power, man. I'm leaving this village. And would you believe this? He knocks out Sakura. Best girl Sakura knocked out. Like, why would you do that, man? But this episode, very, very iconic. I think this is like maybe A+ because it's just like the turning point. But yeah, I'll put an A. I don't believe it has what it takes to become S. A tier. Episode 110 is the episode where Naruto is assigned a team to go after Sasuke. And in this episode, Sakura cries. B for bitch. Now in episode 111, this is where we have random Hidden Leaf Shinobi fighting the Sound Ninja. C tier. Episode 112 is where Naruto's squad fights Jirobo. C tier. Episode 113 is where Choji takes on Jirobo like a legend. B tier. Episode 114 is where Choji goes out with a bang like a legend. And honestly, I think this episode is very B+ tier worthy, but I don't think it got what it takes to be an A tier, you know? It doesn't get the boost, so B tier. Episode 115, they finally catch up to the Sound 4 ninja again, and Neji takes on Kidomaru. Very much a B tier episode. And then episode 116, Neji struggles to take down his enemy. I think this episode is very B+ tier worthy, but like Choji, you know what? It doesn't got what it takes to be an A tier, so B. And then the next episode, 117, I think that's definitely A tier worthy episode, because Neji eats an arrow to the stomach and then uses his big brain to transfer his chakra to Kidomaru using the web, and then to finish off Kidomaru, he fingers him to death. I think that's a pretty epic episode. And then episode 118, they catch up to the Sound 4 ninja and yoink Sasuke back. Yeah, C tier. And then we got episode 119 where Kimimaro yoinks Sasuke back. Shikamaru takes on Tayuya, a very broken character in Naruto Storm 4. And then we got Kiba taking on Sakan and Ukon. This episode wasn't all that interesting. C tier. And then in episode 120, the fighting continues with Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru. B tier. And then episode 121, the fighting continues. B tier. And then episode 122, Shikamaru outplays Tayuya. B tier. And then episode 123, we got Sasuke's sinister laugh that we all know and love. That really gotta go into an A tier. Then episode 124 is the introduction to the Drunken Fist, which, I mean, just that alone, A tier. And then episode 125, we got Gaara reformed now, along with Kankuro and Shikamaru's future wife. Yeah, that's a B tier. And then next we have episode 126, where we have Kimimari's flashback, which we really don't care, do we? And then episode 127, Kimimaro takes the L, and we have Naruto screaming at Final Valley. C tier. And then now we have episode 128, where we have the first part of Naruto versus Sasuke. And then we have some Sasuke flashbacks here and there, which kind of brings it down a few points because we don't appreciate flashbacks too much. Overall, this episode was a B+ tier, but I'll bump it up to A for how iconic I guess it was. Episode 129, we got more Sasuke backstory. I suppose for context of the story, it was important, so B tier. Then episode 130, we got even more Sasuke flashbacks, and you know, we got a little bit of fighting here and there, which brings it up to like, I mean, yeah, it's still a B. And then now we have episode 131, where we get Sasuke flashbacks, but I suppose they get a little bit more juicier here. I think this is when Itachi actually like kills the clan and stuff. I thought they already showed that flashback before, but I don't know, man. I'm a little rusty. But now moving on to episode 132, the fight gets a lot crazier. We got Naruto getting Chidori through the fucking heart and somehow not dying. Main character, plot armor. Overall, this episode was an A+ tier, but for how epic this fight is, it's been in everyone's recommended. Similar to like the Rock Lee fight, it's just known for being great. S tier. Episode 133 is a continuation to the epicness of the fight, so of course another S tier. And then the climax of the fight was pretty good, but not S tier worthy. You know, they're in the final forms, and and they do a nice little Rasengan and Chidori clash, the classic. And then towards the end of the episode, we get to see Zetsu, which is a nice introduction to prepare us for Shippuden. So overall, A tier episode. And yeah, I believe this is gonna be the final time I'm ever gonna put anything in S tier, or maybe even A tier, because we're now heading to Filler Town for the remainder of these goddamn episodes. Look at this shit. However, before we head into Filler Town, Fillerville, filler shit, we have our last canon episode where everyone is getting healed in the hospital because everyone nearly died. That's crazy. And this is the episode where Naruto tells Jiraiya, yo, I need to save my boyfriend. I'm not gonna stop. And we're gonna go through 500 episodes of Shippuden to accomplish that, okay? So yeah, B tier episode. Now, preparing ourselves for this filler spree. Just let this be known, I actually do like some of the fillers, so it's not gonna be like this throughout the entirety of this whole entire video. But starting with episode 136, D tier. Episode 137, a very forgettable filler where we have this orange-haired girl, and I only remember this girl because Naruto touched her titty at one point. D tier. And then 138 is the continuation of this kind of pointless filler arc, so D tier. And then episode 139, we got a little bit more action going on, and Jiraiya nearly gets his dick chopped off by this lady. C tier for cuckoo crazy. And then episode 140, they fight Kabuto, which actually kind of went crazy, but apparently it wasn't actually Kabuto, and it was this random girl, so C tier, I guess. And then episode 141, the fighting wraps up for this arc, and yeah, they return back to the Hidden Leaf. Nothing too crazy. C tier. Episode 142 is a nice intermission period where Sakura is trying to heal a fish, and then the other Hidden Leaf shinobi are doing training, and Naruto's eating ramen as usual, and we just have a nice slice of life episode. And then of course, towards the end, we are introduced to the next set of filler villains. I personally kind of like the slice of life aspect of this episode, so we could drag that into a nice little C rank. And then episode 143 is a generic filler episode. Episode 144 is a generic filler episode. And then episode 145 is a very generic filler episode. Then episode 146 is where Choji holds 2 vibrators, and it was a very generic episode. And then now with episode 147, this brings us to Mizuki, our first ever villain, coming back in action. And not only is he on steroids, he's a furry on steroids. And the fight in this episode was a little juicy, I'll give it that. And towards the end, Sakura actually revives a fish. You know what? C tier. And then now moving forward, we are now on episode 148 with a filler with a little bit more substance, and we go on a mission with Kiba, Shino, and Hinata, giving them a little bit more screen time, which I do appreciate. And in this episode, Naruto sees Hinata naked, and with this episode giving a little more time to Team 8, I do respect it. Nothing too insultingly bad happened in this episode, so I'll actually drag this episode in B tier because it was fairly enjoyable. Even though it was filler, I kind of did enjoy it. Episode 149, we got Tsunade chilling in an onsen, and Naruto and his team goes bug hunting, which, I mean, wasn't really too enjoyable, but you know what? We got to see Tsunade. C tier. Episode 150, we got to see some very silly CG while we were fighting some hornets or bees. I don't know my insects. And throughout this whole entire episode, they just fought nothing but bugs. I mean, I want to say it's doo-doo tier, but yeah, C tier. And then episode 141, Hinata goes crazy on some bees or hornets, whatever they are. And after defeating the threat, they go back to the Hidden Leaf, and Sakura chases Naruto. And just for that ending, I wasted my time. D tier. Episode 152, Naruto eats Ichiraki ramen with broccoli, goes on a trip with Team Guy, and then they end up in a curry place, eat some curry. This whole episode was just food porn, and the curry didn't even look good. It actually looked like shit. D tier. Episode 153, we get to see the OG Naruto barrage, and Naruto goes on a mission along with Team Guy. C tier. Episode 154, we got some random filler villain and a little bit more Rock Lee action, which I do appreciate. Nothing too insane. C tier. Episode 155, we get to see Team Guy in action. All 3 of them. We get to see Neji fight, Lee fight, and even Tenten. And they're even giving Tenten out of all characters some spotlight. So you know what? I respect that. We gotta slap on that B tier. Episode 156, Tenten still goes crazy, bro. They're still giving her some spotlight, and she's actually going nuts in this episode, even though she does take a little bit of an L. But anyways, the rest of Team Guy takes on the filler villain, and with doing so, Rock Lee gets even more spotlight. And you know, as a Rock Lee stan, we do with it, so B tier. And the episode 157 is somehow stepping up from 156, and we get to see the Drunken Fist in action once more. I don't know what it is, but the Drunken Fist is always plus 50 points, and I really don't have a grading system going on here. I just whatever, but that's a well-deserving of an A tier in my book, even though I said I wouldn't go anywhere above an A tier for a filler episode. But episode 158 is an episode where they do like random things, and the sexy jutsu does make its return, which cool, I guess. And not only does Naruto use it, his apprentices use it too. which honestly this episode was a little ilk. D tier. Episode 159, we got a wholesome picnic going on here, and Naruto goes on a mission with Kiba Hinata, and they get into this one fight with this dude with a hat. Very cool as well. B tier, I suppose. Now on episode 160, we get a continuation to this arc. I'm gonna be honest, I skimmed through the episode, so I don't even know what's happening, so C tier. Then now on episode 161, we got a filler episode with Fat Rock Lee and Guy episode. Like they're imposters. I don't know what's going on here. Kind of sus. D tier. Episode 162, we start off by eating some Ichiraku ramen. That's always off to a really good start. And then Naruto goes on a mission with Neji and Tenten, where they fight this samurai thing. C tier. And then episode 163, they fight the samurai thing again, but this time they got a very solid budget, and I do appreciate a good budget for animation. And also in this episode, Tenten gets some spotlight, so that's an automatic B. Episode 164, I kind of skimmed a lot, so I don't even know what's happening in this filler arc, so C. And then episode 165, I did the same thing, don't know what's happening, C tier. And then episode 166, same as last, I don't know what's happening, it had very mediocre animation, C tier. And then episode 167, we got more plot development, generic animation, generic fights, C tier as well. And then episode 168, we got Naruto and Choji eating at Ichiraku, and the Ichiraku guy dies from a heart attack. And this whole episode is dedicated to making ramen, which, you know, I would maybe throw into D tier, but you know what? I have respect for Ichiraku ramen, so we're gonna bump it up to a C. Now on episode 169, we get another beautiful filler arc where Naruto gets sent on another mission with Ino, Shino, and Anko. And while they're riding a boat, they get attacked, and we got this beautiful fireball animation from Anko. You know what? C tier for that. And then episode 170, we got a continuation to the arc, and we got some Anko flashbacks. I really don't know what's going on here, but I mean, just because of the Anko flashbacks, we got a little bit more story to Anko, and we know Anko is waifu material, and we respect her. C tier. Episode 171, we got more filler plot. C tier, I kind of skimmed, to be honest. Episode 172, we got a little bit more action in the water. C tier. Episode 173, we got a nice fight with Naruto at the beginning in his QB form, and some solid action from both Ino and Shino. And to top it off, we got a nice ride back home on our ship. You know what? B minus tier, but I'll just bump it up to a B. Why not? Now we're on episode 174 with this Snot Boy, and for some reason this episode gives me the same vibe as that one episode from Boruto. It was just like with this kid, and I don't know what the fuck was going on in that episode, and I don't know what's happening in this episode either, so D tier. Episode 175, Naruto plays football by himself, and then goes on a mission with Hinata and Kiba, and then we got an evil Hinata and Naruto imposter. Why'd I keep saying imposter, bro? But D tier. And then episode 176 is a continuation to the filler, I think. I skimmed, I'm sorry. D tier. Same with episode 177, same with 178, and same with 179. We're definitely on a D streak. Will it stop here? Well, episode 180, it did have Neji, Tenten, and Lee, all characters I do really care for, but it is a filler arc which I don't care about. D tier. And then episode 181, it's a filler arc continuation, nothing too crazy. The animation was plain and I fell asleep. D tier. Episode 182, same arc, same thing. D tier. Episode 183, same arc, and this is where the filler actually ends, so I'm gonna bump it up to D tier. And then episode 184, we got a filler with Kiba and dogs. D tier for doggies. I need to shut up. And then episode 185, we got more filler with this random creature that grows over time. D tier. Episode 186, we got Shino laughing. Just for that laugh, I think I'll bump it up to C. Episode 187, we got an uninteresting filler. D tier. Episode 188, the fight wasn't even that great, and it's a pointless filler as well. D tier. Episode 189, it's a continuation, and why can't you get better animation for your fights? You're slacking with these fillers. I'm sorry. D tier. Episode 190, it's a filler continuation, and like the other episodes, it's not too interesting. Not sure if it's because I skimmed. That might actually be a reason on why I'm not enjoying these filler as much, but D tier. Episode 191, it's the conclusion to the arc, but you know, same as last episode. D tier. And then episode 192 actually took me by surprise, because now we got this fat MILF who wants to get with this one guy, and so in order to get this one guy, she hires Ino to be her stand-in, who is fucking 12, to be her slender version of her, so that she could get with this one dude. And what the fuck is this filler, dude? I mean, at least it had a decent premise, so I mean, I'll give it that. So C tier, even though it's quite odd. Episode 193, and here we go back on the streak, because we got an Afro Mike guy and some Sakura clones. I don't know what the fuck is happening. D tier. Episode 194, Naruto, Kiba, Hinata go on a filler mission. No Sakuga, no beautiful animation. I don't give a shit. D tier. Episode 195, another filler episode, and Mike guy fights some random ass dummies. D tier. Episode 196 seems like a continuation to 195, because Naruto, Neji, Tenten, and Rock Lee fight some wooden dummies as well. Oh, D tier. Episode 197, we got an intense Naruto Naruto running moments, and more filler fun, D tier. Episode 198, more fun random filler, D tier. Episode 199, we got this kid built like a fucking onion, D tier. And now on episode 200, we got a random filler, nothing happens, nothing special happens, nothing memorable happens, D tier. Episode 201, we got the hidden leaf getting attacked. Is this the pain assault? Is pain attacking? Is pain invading? Who knows? Oh wait, it's just a fucking filler. Get this shit out of my face. And now on to episode 202, and you would think that this would be another D tier, but we have found it, boys, another F tier, because it's a fucking recap episode for all the canon episodes that happened over hundreds of episodes ago. I'm sick and tired of these fucking fillers. L tier. And now moving on to episode 203 with another start to a filler arc, and let me tell you, I don't think things are looking good for us, because this is another filler arc which I thought I wouldn't mind removed from the series. So to start off episode 203, D tier. Now in episode 204, we got Kurenai, we got paintings, we got some good old filler, you know how it is, D tier. Now episode 205, we got a continuation to this arc, and honestly, I gotta say, it really did step itself up, man. I really think I should put it up into D tier. Episode 206, Kurenai goes into another dimension with paintings. Not much happens though. I'm gonna be honest, I had a little bit more substance. Like, I think this is a D+ tier. Should we be nice and bump it up to C tier? I'm not that nice. And then episode 207 is the conclusion to this arc, and I'm gonna be honest, not much happens, so D tier. And now we are in episode 208, and at least best boy Kiba is in this one, and honestly, I gotta say, it's very D tier worthy. Episode 209 is a very standard filler episode, not much substance going on here. Episode 210, Naruto fights a filler villain. Overall, not too interesting, D tier. Now on episode 211, we got Naruto fighting even more filler dudes, and it was quite interesting, honestly, and I would consider this a very D tier worthy episode. And now we got the conclusion to this filler arc, and honestly, I do gotta say, it definitely wrapped things up very, 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 very nicely. I'll put this in a good D tier. And then now we are in episode 213, which is the first episode to the next filler arc. And in this episode, we get to see that Sakura is a professional nurse now, and that's all I can literally say about this episode, D tier. And now on episode 214, we got a continuation with Naruto, Neji, and Tenten going on a filler arc mission. And this whole episode was dedicated to chopping wood, and since that actually did kind of piss me off a bit, because like, I've been starving for a C tier this whole time, you're getting an L tier for that shit, bro. Episode 215, we got the conclusion to this filler arc, and honestly, the fights were pretty so, you know, at least they tried a little, so D tier. And now moving on to the episode 216, which is the first episode to the final filler arc. Thank God. Naruto goes on a mission with Shikamaru, Kiba, Lee, and Ino. Nothing too crazy happened here, and with the decline in quality of these filler-like episodes, I just gotta hand that D to you, bro. And now for episode 217, we got the Sand siblings fighting some Ren filler characters, and honestly, the fights were just D tier. Episode 218, Naruto pulls up and helps the Sand siblings, returning the favor when the Sand siblings help them on their Sasuke recovery mission. But honestly, the animation was a bit lacking in this department. If they added just a little bit of Sakuga, just a tad bit of that spice to the animation, maybe, just maybe, I actually might have pushed it up to B tier. You know, animation could go a long way. I'm just saying, but you know what? They stay with the generic shit. I'm bored as fuck. I'm putting this shit in. So now on episode 219, Gaara fights filler villains, and Naruto fights filler villains. I want to be nice and hand a C, but I just need to be honest with myself. That's a fat D, my boy. And then finally, with the final episode of the original Naruto, I cannot believe I actually successfully did this video in one fucking take. I cannot believe it. But this episode is a canon episode, and at the beginning of this episode, they defeat the filler villain, blah blah blah. And now we're on the canon portion of this episode, where Sakura revives a fishy successfully. She's a pro medical ninja now, really doing God's work out here. And we got Rock Lee and Tenten doing some taijutsu training, and then Naruto is fresh out of the hospital, heading out of the Hidden Leaf to do some training with our boy Jiraiya and preparing for fucking Shippuden, while Hinata stalks him a bit in the back. And we got some very good closure, and honestly, this was a very solid ending for part 1 Naruto. We can hand a nice B tier for this episode. With that said, we have now completed our Naruto episode tier list. As you can see right here, we have successfully completed it all, and it actually took a lot more time than I anticipated. So if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate if you could just maybe drop a like if you're feeling nice today. If not, then fuck you. But anyways, I hope you all did enjoy this video. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this again. I'm really gonna have to see a lot of support on this video if I'm gonna do it for like Shippuden, because that's 2.5 times the amount of the episodes that I did in this video, which this took long enough, I'm gonna be honest. But anyways, that is the Naruto episode tier list, a tier list that no human should have ever done, but for some reason did it, and it definitely took some time. This recording's about 2 hours and a half. Definitely quite a bit of time to record this. Wow. But regardless, hope y'all did enjoy. I mean, I said that millions of times already, and with that said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.